Perhaps someone who is unlikely to have been invited might make others question why they're on this trip. There might be some favoritism involved. Perhaps. I mean, of course, there's utility in bringing everyone along, but there's only so many resources we can handle on a journey of this magnitude, and it does cause one to question whether the queen might think she needs protection from someone else along the way, or if there might be something more going on there. I think there are a few of us who would be interested in knowing about that.
I came out to have a good time and I'm feeling so attacked.
Like as a player, then I will back off.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
And I'm just sitting here like, juicy gossip.
I have questions, but I feel like it would be more fun if they came from other people.
I mean, if you have questions, go ahead and ask them, because I'm trying to come up with...
Right. Just... Do you think the queen's favorite should be someone else?
I trust in Her Majesty's judgment. In all things, implicitly.
Why do I not believe that? That's like not a question at you. That's not a real question. That's just
suspicion
not
here
no.
has been raised.
I'll just say that I have known the queen to be fickle in her affections in the past, and that while sparkles and tricks may impress her for a little while, eventually the glamour might fade, and then it might be better to have some other allies on hand.
Do you ever do anything to try to get rid of the queen's favor on anybody?
I would never do anything to undermine the judgment of our queen. I am insulted that you would even ask such a thing.
Okay.
It makes me wonder that your thoughts went such a direction.
This game is so much fun, y'all.
I feel like it's paranoia, but for the queen instead.
Oh, paranoia is the name of a game. I thought you were talking about actual paranoia.
Both.
Oh.
Why's the bathroom door closed?
Hmm?
Why's the bathroom door closed?
Oh shit, I locked Fred in there. Sorry about that. I forgot I locked my cat in the bathroom, and he's out now.
Oh, poor thing.
Clearly you were attacking the wrong person. At least I don't lock cats in bathrooms.
It was so he wouldn't climb into the oven while I was taking the pizza out, because he is stupid enough to try that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes cats be like that.
Yeah.
What is something you do for the royal family that prepared you well for this journey?
Kitty. Does it count as stream kitty if we don't actually see them? Just hear them?
No.
Okay.
See. Though we did have a canon cat in the game for Vampire the Masquerade back, because one of our players' cats would come up and start screaming in the background, so we just would say they're...
That's awesome.
Suddenly we're attacked by a panther on the road.
So I think I do certain jobs that are sometimes of a violent nature that give me a skill set that would help me defend the queen.
Certain skill sets, like in the movie Taken, which totally exists in this universe now, kind of way.
Possibly.
A very select set of skills.
Alright, if there's no other questions, Christine.
Ew. Ew. Good question, though. So, quick question.
Yeah.
Just so I can understand the rules best. If you want to keep a question, but you can pass it, like pass the prompt card on to someone else.
Yes, you can pass it on to the next person.
Cool.
Can you pass it on?
So you can pass it to... So you would pass it to Bryn. And then Bryn... And it can technically go all the way back around to you, but then you either have to answer it, or put it in the X card pile. But yes, you can
Fair
pass
enough.
it to the next person.
I'm curious enough, and I want to pass it.
Okay. So... Wait, let me make sure. Persephone, then. That question goes to you.
My immediate answer for this is perhaps not the best for this group. So I'll pass too, if that's okay.
So then it gets passed to Bryn.
Sure, I'll take it. The way that she had me punished was less punishment directly, so much as a freeze out of contact. I failed to pass on some information that she thought was relevant, and did not hand me any more missions for a while until I had learned my lesson, as it were. and the memory, I think, of just that prolonged silence is very jarring.
How long ago was this, and how long were you frozen out?
It was a few years ago. Relatively early into my service. And her silence to me lasted for several weeks.
So you would normally go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, do you think that that was just?
Of course, I will take whatever punishment my queen sees fit to deliver, and she has many worse options at her disposal.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think made her call on you again?
I think I had proven myself to be quite capable in the past, and that skill is clearly highly valued.
What was the action that caused the punishment?
I'm sorry?
What was the action that caused the punishment?
I had some information that I had assumed was of a spurious nature that I kept to myself. And the queen did not agree and wanted to have been told the information. It was a plot against her that I didn't feel was particularly credible. But she disagreed.
Had you told anybody else about this matter before the queen? Perhaps anybody
No.
No? Okay.
How did the queen find out that you had withheld this information?
The original, the source of the plot was rather more loose-lipped than originally estimated. So word of it, the plot spread beyond my knowledge of it.
Who brought this to the queen's attention?
I don't know. She didn't tell me.
Mm.
Frig.
Okay.
Oh wait, I thought we would go to the next player.
Oh. From the person who originally drew?
Yeah, so that would be me.
No, nope. When you
Oh, okay.
pass, you pass it to the next person,
Okay.
and then it goes, and then whoever
Nice.
answers that, the next person after that is the person
Oh,
that
okay.
goes.
Makes sense.
Okay, the card I drew. What do you do for the queen that anyone else can do, and why does she make you do it? I'm going to say that I helped the queen dress in the morning. And that this is a job that requires discretion and dexterity. And of course, with this level of intimacy, you do want someone from a family whose lineage and trustworthiness and loyalty are unquestioned. And I mean, I'm not the only one to have this duty, of course, but it's one that I've had for quite a while now, and I am proud of being able to help the Queen in this way.
When you first got given this task, did you resent it?
Oh, I was so young. I was overwhelmed. I barely even knew how how to dress myself, let alone the Queen. It was overwhelming. It, I remember the night before, my mother coming in and telling me exactly how important this was, and the two of us practicing together. And I didn't resent it then, I would say, and certainly not now. Though it isn't always the easiest to be the one working closely with Her Majesty before she's had her hot brown morning potion. But it is a duty that I take very seriously.
Alrighty then.
I'm so tempted to drop a really gross but true historical fact at this moment, which is that in like pre-Elizabethan, early Tudor England, kings and queens actually had someone who wiped their bum for them, and this person was called the keeper of the stool. This is true. And it was actually a really highly sought after position in court because you got so much intimate private time with the king, wiping their bum when they used the toilet.
Random history fact.
Random history fact. The more you know.
The more you question.
Let's see.
The more you know.
What part of this journey will be the most difficult? And how do you pull the rest of the retinue through it?
Oh, that's a good one.
There is a section of road between my uncle's and the Queen's Kingdom that is often camped by bandits. And I know this because I traveled through it when I left my uncle's court. And to pull the rest of the retinue through it, I scout ahead to either take care of any threats or at least give a warning.
Speaking of giving a warning, alarm bells.
Kitty!
Is the bit of the road with the bandits in the Queen's land or your uncle's land?
It is in a small section of unclaimed land between them.
Is that what the war is being fought over? Who gets that section of land?
Yes.
Who do you think should get that section of land?
I tend not to have a stated opinion on the matter of who should own the land.
Curious.
You don't support our queen's endeavors, then?
I didn't say that. I just don't speak loud my opinion on who should get the land.
Why was the land unclaimed for so long?
I think it was probably once claimed by another kingdom that fell, and then it was just there because for a long time nobody was willing to attempt to claim it for fear of war, and then when two kingdoms decided that they wanted to expand, that's exactly what happened.
You had been in the Queen's Court for about 2 years at this point. Did it come as a surprise to you that both kingdoms made a move to claim this land, or was it something that you kind of expected?
It was something I knew was coming, because I think as part of my seeking sanctuary and a place in the Queen's Court, I brought information that my uncle was going to make a move for that piece of land. And so the Queen made her move for it first, which caused the war.
Caused is perhaps a bit strong, don't you think?
This is definitely part of it.
Mm.
But it could be. Christine.
What do you do that pleases the Queen on this journey? Afternoon tea. She likes her tea brewed a specific way, and she only trusts me to brew it that way. So, tea, pastries, lots in the afternoon. It always brightens her day. Sometimes you can, I can tell when I walk in that it's been a bad day, but as soon as she sits down to enjoy that, it kind of lifts just a bit of her mood up, so it's a bit more pleasant atmosphere around, but it's always nice to bring her tea.
And I have to ask, what is your secret to brewing the tea like that? I've never been able to do it properly.
I'm gonna have to keep that secret until I pass.
Okay,
Well,
well,
I
what
hope-
kind of tea is it?
Oh, you've never had it?
I have my suspicions, but
It's a specialty blend.
Special tea?
Ha. And that's all I'm going to say on the blend.
Is this something you enjoy doing, or a task you consider part of your job?
The making of the tea and
Just
sweet.
having tea every day with the queen.
I like the schedule of it because it's always at the same time, so I always know what to expect. Like the time leading up to it, and then that hour of her enjoying the tea. I know what to expect at that time, and I find it relaxing to move through those motions to get everything ready and have it all perfect before being presented to her. So I quite enjoy it.
Quite the commendable thing to be that reliable and be able to serve the queen every day, isn't it?
Yeah. You really have to be on your toes to keep up with everything.
And
Have you ever missed it? Oh, go ahead, Teddy.
Do you enjoy the queen's company?
She doesn't talk much when I bring the tea, but it is always nice to see her and just do what I do best.
Have you ever missed a day with the tea? And how did the queen react?
There was 1 week I did miss, and it was because I was really ill. So while angry at first when hearing of my situation, that's what she was more lenient, just get better and then get back. But since then, I've been planning on not getting sick and working hard to not.
Well, they say tea is very good for the health.
Yes.
All right, Persephone.
Alrighty. Okay.
Oof.
I think it was more of a indirect thing. I think, there was there was a certain night that I had feelings for. And then the war happened. And I was told that the queen told her unit to take a bridge, and it turned out to be a trap, and the entire unit was slaughtered.
Do you ever blame the queen for what happened?
No.
Do you have any idea why the queen sent people into something that was a trap? Like how she was fooled?
The queen, I would not say the queen is fooled. She is very shrewd, and there are reasons for what she does. I certainly would not wish to speculate on those.
So you think the queen had a reason to send everyone to be killed?
I think the queen had a reason for taking that bridge.
Hmm.
All right, Bryn.
So much tension.
I'm just trying to think of more questions.
Oh, I'm sure. I just want to clarify. I am having a good time. Just so much tension.
Tension is good.
Tension can be fun.
Right? Oh,
I think the queen probably knows many things about me that no one else does.
What's the most important thing?
I that I'm a cat. No, I think I was perhaps responsible for something that happened in my youth that should have had more dire consequences, and she knows the truth of that matter.
how did the queen come to find out about this particular matter?
I mean, she has her network of informants that that keep open ears for just this sort of circumstance, on the occasion that it might prove useful to her.
Have you, as part of this circle, ever helped her learn something about a fellow informant?
Yes.
How did that make you feel afterwards when you told the queen?
She, of course, had a right to know about anyone in her circle speaking ill of her, and I felt it was my duty.
Was the person that you passed on the information about someone you were close to? Or has it happened more than once, perhaps?
In my line of work, I try to avoid getting particularly closeness is sometimes necessary for the pursuance of information, but it's not necessarily always genuine.
A pity one for anyone who might have the misfortune to fall in love with you.
Indeed.
How do you feel about the queen knowing this secret from your youth?
I serve at her will, and it is due to her kindness that I am here and not suffering some eternal punishment elsewhere. She has provided me a purpose. It's I have no particular feelings about it one way or the other. It simply is.
And it is a testament to the strength of your character that you have elicited such kindness for the queen, for only those who endure the greatest of adversity are able to know her kindness.
Precisely.
All right, no, Frank.
You were summoned to a private meeting with the queen once. Why did you feel disappointed afterwards? Ooh. Well, you know, there is always a great deal of rumor flying around the court, and a while ago, when there was an opportunity perhaps to advantage my family through the queen's affections, I was foolish enough to get my hopes up that perhaps there might be some honor bestowed upon me, but well, let's just say that we don't always anticipate the direction in which things are going to go, do we? And of course, I'm grateful to the queen for everything she has done for me and my family, that we have enjoyed prosperity for so long as we have. My feelings are my own. It taught me a great deal about how to guard my own heart, one might say.
What made you think such potential advancement was likely?
Oh, well, of course, my closeness to the queen, being with her every morning, you get to hear she's surprisingly sweet sometimes, and you know, so often when she's out and in the court, she's having to watch everything, and just seeing her every now and again in an unguarded moment, it's rare that one does, of course, but I think I chose that to see that as a sign of trust that I maybe hadn't earned yet. I wish I had.
Do you believe you've earned that trust now?
I hope so. I hope that Her Majesty knows how grateful I am to her and to be able to serve.
Alrighty then. The queen trusts you, but no one else in the royal court does. Why? I think it's because everybody assumes they know what I do for the Queen. There's plenty of rumors, but only me and the Queen actually know all of the details.
Do you think there are rumors or assumptions that you might secretly be still loyal to your uncle?
Yes, I believe there's definitely those within the court that believe that, within the retinue.
And why might people think that, do you wonder? I wonder.
Because it is often valuable for both me and the Queen, for people, first to not dispel such rumors.
It is strange, don't you think, that the Queen should be the one to travel to your uncle's court, and not that they're both traveling to a neutral meeting point?
I think it's strange, but it wasn't my decision.
I'm curious, given your lack of opinion on who should control the land, if you had an opinion on whether or not this was a wise decision on the Queen's part.
I believe the Queen knows what she's doing.
Oh, I have no doubt.
It's not my business to know whether or not the decision is wise. I think it's more my business to make sure that it's a wise decision.
Beautifully put.
Any other questions? All right, Christine.
Why do you think the Queen trusts you enough to bring you on this journey? Well, who else is going to make her tea in the afternoon?
I suppose there is a certain amount of trust in there, trusting you to make her tea.
Do you think there may be reasons that the Queen has not told you that she's brought you along on this trip for?
If there are, I try not to think I know what the Queen is thinking, because that just leads to too many assumptions and tripping up. And
Oh, of course.
so, nah, I don't think along those lines.
Do you yourself believe that the Queen is right to trust you?
Well, I wouldn't be here if she didn't trust me, so I trust in her judgment.
Interesting that you say that your job is not to question the queen's wisdom, but to ensure that her decisions are wise, and then immediately ask that.
Do you trust yourself?
And the skills that I have, yes. And that is what I am needed for.
And those skills are making tea.
Tea, pastries,
Anything else?
sometimes a light lunch. If you're asking about poisons, why would I talk about that?
Did anyone else here mention poisons?
I was going to ask if you were quite. It seems you're quite knowledgeable about chemistry.
Yeah, you have to get pastries just right. So, yeah. I've kind of made ovens explode before by messing things up, so I'm glad I've learned enough to not do that anymore. Mom was very angry.
Do you think you could make those ovens explode again?
I don't even know what I did.
Interesting.
Relatable.
All right, Persephone.
Alrighty. Okay. What did you bring with you that endangers the queen? Oh boy.
Ooh.
I think just, magic isn't exactly subtle. And while it's, versatile and occasionally powerful, it does, I think, leave quite the signature, and that could bring attention to Her Majesty, perhaps when she doesn't want it.
How much faith do you have in your abilities to avoid those unwanted consequences?
I am certain that if my magic were to unfortunately provoke some sort of negative situation, that I would be able to certainly get myself and the queen out of it.
An interesting way to answer that question.
Interesting that you said you would be able to get yourself out of it before you said you'd be able to get the queen out of it.
That's not a question.
Have you ever had to choose between her safety and your own when it comes to magic?
No.
Fortunate. Or lucky.
And if you
perhaps.
had to?
Of course, I would choose the queen. How dare you suggest otherwise?
The question needed to be asked.
Perhaps, but I think there are better people to ask it to.
Oh, is there anyone in this party that you would like to see answer that question, perhaps?
I have some thoughts.
Care to share?
Not yet. I'll hedge my bets for now.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Bryn.
Why are some others at the royal court jealous of your relationship with the queen? The nature of my position is such that I am compelled to speak with her quite frankly at times, which requires a level of honesty that is not necessarily always displayed by others among the court.
Do you think others in her retinue have been dishonest?
I'm sure I couldn't speak to that.
All right. Ulfrig.
Ooh, dang. What promise did the queen make to you before this journey? Do you think she'll keep it? The queen and I have made journeys before, and she knows that I don't travel well necessarily. And I think what impressed me was her devotion to seeing this war end. And promises that when alliances are considered at the end of this war, perhaps I can be of some assistance. And if I can be of some assistance, then of course I must be of some assistance. That's how that works. I think this is a different situation from earlier. I think she said something, and I've never known the queen to break her own word.
Is it important to you that she keeps her word?
I would hope that my own understanding is good enough that I have not assumed another promise where there wasn't one.
Do you think if this goes well that you will be her new favorite?
I would not presume to guess how the queen might react to this journey going well.
Do you feel confident that your abilities have progressed such to merit such potential advancement?
I think my own abilities are quite modest, and that when it comes to the queen, it's less about knowing whether or not any one person is meritable, perhaps, and more about knowing that there is in fact a legacy of trust that can be built upon. And while of course a single person's disloyalty must be dealt with quite harshly, my hope is far more modest, that by demonstrating my own loyalty, I can build upon my family's legacy of trust.
What will you do, and how will you feel if the queen does not keep her promise to you?
Oh, I can't imagine such a thing ever happening. I don't know how I would feel. I would it would be such a disappointment. I would be my service is so small. But it's what I have to offer. I don't know how I would feel. Bereft?
Alright. There's no more questions. I think we're gonna take a 10-minute break. We'll be back in a little bit. And we'll see you then. Hello, and welcome back. We are playing For the Queen tonight. It has been a bit tense so far on our journey.
Just a tad.
You sometimes think you might be the Queen's favorite. Why? And why does this worry you? I sometimes believe that the reason I believe that is I sometimes believe that the Queen tells me things that she doesn't tell other people. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but I sometimes believe this. And it worries me because I know it can be a dangerous place of power to be in. Other people in the court do not necessarily always look kindly on those who are favored by the Queen.
Why do you think the Queen is so fond of you?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
What kinds of things does she do when you're around that make you think you're her favorite?
I think that she noticeably relaxes when it's just us.
Hmm.
In a way that I've noticed she doesn't do at any other time. That I believe she doesn't do any other time, at least to my notice. Alright, Christine?
Ooh.
Ooh.
Oh my god. How do you answer this question?
You could always pass it.
I can't think of an answer, but I really, really like this question, so I am going to pass it.
I think. Yeah. Okay. Oh, it does go next to me, right?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Just wanted to remember the order. I think there was a enemy spellcaster who was foolish enough to try and do a direct assault on the palace. I was more than able to throw up a barrier in time and launch my own counterattack.
Did this counterattack cost you anything?
I think it cost a lot of energy. I was very draining, to do two real, like, big magic things.
Any other questions?
I wanted to make more Magic the Gathering references, but I wasn't sure where.
All right, Brandon.
The queen is not your queen. The queen is not your queen. Why do you serve her anyway?
Ooh.
I'm gonna pass that question.
I'm also going to pass that question. The queen is my queen.
Okay, I see what happened here.
I don't know.
Well, though I came from my uncle's court to this queen's court. I don't think I always lived in that court, but I didn't always live in that court, but I serve this queen now because I can never go home.
And what made you choose this queen's court over, say, another queen or another king as the one that you wanted to serve?
The position that this kingdom has, the position of power that this specific kingdom has.
Do you feel that position has changed at all with the war the last 5 years?
Yes.
In what way?
Well, war has, in some ways, weakened the kingdom, made it harder for us to defend some of the borders.
Is there any reason that you might be loyal to the queen personally rather than just the power of the queendom?
Yes, to make up for my own past mistakes, I'm choosing to be fiercely loyal to someone I believe to be just.
Past mistakes?
Yes.
Like betraying one kingdom?
No. But past mistakes that are the reason I can't go home.
Is the queen aware of the reasons why you can't go home?
No.
I would ask if you would think it's wise to keep something from the queen, but I'm not sure that you would make your opinion known, to be honest.
I think silence is its own answer.
Neutrality at its finest.
All right.
Are there
Christine.
any circumstances in which you would divulge the reasons why you cannot go home?
Yes.
What are they?
Those there are circumstances, but they are unforeseen circumstances that I cannot be prepared for, in which I may have to divulge such information. All right, Christine.
Kitty cat.
Cats are good.
Look at the floof. All of the floof.
Such pretty floof. Huh. You have a personal connection to the land you are currently traveling through. What makes you want to stay, and why don't you? Huh. Hmm. I know how to answer the first part of the question, but not the second, so I'm just going to go for it and see what happens. So for the personal connection to the land, it's where I grew up. It's what I know. I know what spots the right herbs grow in, where to harvest, what's needed for tea or whatever else the queen asks. There's a lot that goes into tea and baking. So I know this land and I know this area. To leave would be to leave that all behind, and that would be hard. But if all of that's gone, then that's why I'd have to leave.
So do you also know about the bandits?
I know of them. Never really encountered them myself. Knew to avoid the areas where they hung out the most. Lone travelers are, well, easy pickings. So when traveling alone, it's best to avoid where you know they like to congregate.
Does the queen know that you may want to stay?
I've been honest that it's hard to sometimes find the ingredients to keep up with all that's asked of me in the kitchens. But I try to make the best of the situation because the bandits have kind of grown more, so where I used to live is no longer safe. With the queen, it is safe. And with what I learned out here, right temperatures, how much sun, how much shade, kind of easy to finagle around with things to get plants to grow.
All right, Persephone.
Alrighty. The queen lights a fire. Just getting all the fun questions to answer and all the fun implications. I think, it is both a she is certainly encouraging of, furthering my powers, but just, is very supportive and just, some think that like, oh, spooky witch, I can't talk to her or whatever. The queen certainly talks to me and, she makes me feel warm and cared for. And, many other things.
Does
Hmm?
do you think that the queen feels the same way?
I would not hope to assume Her Majesty's feelings. However, it would certainly make me very glad if she did.
Okay.
Ulfrig has crashed, it seems.
Yep. Well, we wait for that, Bryn. It's your turn.
Okay.
Oh.
Man, I really want to pass this.
You could X card it. You could X card it if you feel like it's just a bad idea.
Hmm. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna. Yeah, I'm gonna just scooch it over there.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think personally, I feel like it's far more interesting to watch us eat each other alive.
Yeah. So do I pick? Do I draw again or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's much more fun to watch us like drown suspicions.
Okay. What do you do for the queen that no one else can do? I feel like I answered something very similar to this earlier, but it is I'm very I'm able to access information and places of interest that many other folks are not able to by dint of my being often overlooked.
Um. Do you enjoy this task?
It's a task that employs my skill set, and it gives me a purpose.
Have you ever been offered to use your skill set by someone else for a different price? And have you considered doing that job?
Information tends to have multiple interested buyers, but I would never dream of betraying my queen.
So you're saying you've never sold information to somebody else?
No, I've never sold information to anyone else.
Okay. While we wait, I guess I will talk about some things that are coming up on the channel for a little bit. Well, we wait for Wolfric to get back here soon. So, the rest of this week on the channel, there will be at least a couple of world building streams for Scion Heroes, leading into December 2nd, which will be me and Capjack sitting down, and we'll get to meet Capjack's character. For Faded Milwaukee 95, we'll get to meet their character, and there, you're back, yay! One second. And we'll be doing a one-on-one session on Day 2nd, but now that you're back, it is your turn.
Oh gosh. Oh gosh.
Before we jump at the blocks of video and Twitch are all jumbled by name. Ulfrig and Bryn have kind of switched.
Oh, I'll get them fixed. You just keep going.
Yes.
And now Roll20 is acting. Come on, Roll20. Your technology. Like,
sometimes you love it, sometimes you hate it.
usually I do not know how to use it, mostly. Okay. And will it let me? Okay, there we go. What did you bring with you to protect the queen? Oh, that's a good question. It's one that I don't really know how to answer, to be honest. I'm going to say I brought with me I want to be really cheeky and say my brother. Who is like a fully armed and trained knight of the realm. Yeah, that my brother came along with, and he is a knight of the realm. And not only is he a knight of the realm, he has had some additional training that Persephone might have had a hand in that would allow him to be quite useful if things came down to it.
What sort of additional training did he have that I might have had a hand in?
Well, you have your area of expertise, and he may have shown some inclination and some skill in that area.
Oh, that was your brother.
Yeah.
Oh, I see the resemblance now.
It takes people a little while, different fathers, and he is
Oh, okay.
younger than I am. But yeah,
Are you confident in his capabilities?
oh, of course. So he's young. I know he's a little untested and can be impulsive, but I've also known him since, he was, well, he would kill me for saying it, but since he was in diapers, and I've just seen him grow and become so capable. It's incredible the opportunities he's had and the way he's worked to make the most of them.
Are you confident in his loyalty to you or to the queen?
Well, I would hope both.
Which is more important to you?
My brother's loyalty to me or to the queen?
Mm-hmm.
In my family, we've been told since we were small children that a heritage is like a carriage. And every person in the family is like one of the horses that pulls that carriage. And that carriage only moves if everyone is pulling in the same direction. We've both heard this since we were tiny. I can't imagine I can't imagine that he would be disloyal.
If it came down to you or the queen, which do you suspect he would choose?
I know my brother would do the right thing.
What an interesting answer.
That is an interesting answer.
Answer.
And yes, answer. But to be honest, like, we've all done a few of those this game.
And is there any more questions?
Oh, just ask it. I see it.
You can X card if you want to.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, what
did
is the-
you- No, you never forgive the queen. And why?
But such drama.
I know, suddenly stakes. Like,
I'm gonna pass this to Christine.
I'm going to pass this to Persephone.
I am. Can you X card her on something you have been passed?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I just don't. I feel like it's not a good question.
Oh, it's a great question. It's whether or not you want to burn that
Okay.
bridge.
Oh, this is an even better question. Oh
What?
boy. You saw the queen do something terrible to keep the retinue safe. What was it? Did you come to respect her more or less afterward?
Ooh.
I think maybe, our illustrious, wonderful queen perhaps has picked up a few things from her loyal witch, and there might have been a little bit of an ambush until the queen burned them alive. I did certainly come to respect her more. It if certainly in the way that one might respect a dragon.
Have you? Did you tell anybody else in the retinue about what you saw?
No. It's not necessary. And I think probably the queen would want it that way. The less who know, the better. More of a tactical advantage.
Okay.
Anyone else got questions?
All right, Bryn.
um, there is a false rumor about you and the queen back at the royal court. What is it, and how did it start? I think there is a rumor that I am related to the queen. That her taking me into her sort of circle of informants was a little too fortuitous to be random or luck. That there is some connection between us beyond my loyal service.
Is there any truth to this rumor?
No, not to my knowledge.
Do you suspect that anybody in the retinue may have started this rumor?
Well, I didn't. I have my suspicions about the genesis of the rumor, but it's not something that I can prove, and I'm not willing to risk the confrontation.
Interesting. Have you taken any steps to quash the rumor?
Or encourage it?
It is a requirement of my office to stay out of sight and out of mind, so I tend to keep to the shadows in order to discourage comments about me and my work.
There are those who would say that keeping to the shadow encourages people to wonder what would be shown in the light.
What do you think the Queen thinks of this rumor?
Hmm.
I would not presume to know the Queen's mind.
That's just
Oh.
everybody's answer to that question.
Oh, but
It's a
didn't you
really
tell us
good
earlier?
answer.
Didn't you tell us
But-
earlier that you and she have such an honest relationship above and beyond that of the rest of her retinue?
I believe I said that I enjoyed a certain degree of honesty that the rest of the court was perhaps not privy to. Not that it goes both ways.
Hmm.
All right, Wolfrig.
Okay. How does the Queen remind you of her status while on the journey? Um, I am totally blanking. I'm sorry, fam. It's a strange thing about the Queen that she doesn't have to, you know? Everyone around the Queen reminds me every time they interact with her of her status. I feel like it would be impossible to forget the Queen's status even while on the journey. Of course, I still assist her in the morning. I mean, even with quarters being as cramped and privacy as rare as it is on the road, we still manage to keep her dignity intact.
I guess the question is, have you ever done anything to make the Queen remind you of her status?
Oh, not on this journey, no.
Not on this journey.
But before?
Perhaps. But I've been fortunate that the Queen is capable of forgiveness.
So it was a negative experience then.
I consider it a sign of our closeness that we have been able to weather the experience.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a punishment for beyond her reminding you of her status?
There was. It was perhaps not as severe as some, but I felt it deeply. I will not make the same mistake again.
Any other questions? Alrighty.
Ooh.
Ooh.
When was the last time the queen hurt you? Earlier in the day.
This day.
Yes.
And what were the circumstances of that?
During a private meeting, I talked out of place.
How so?
Oh, if you don't tell, I will.
I forgot that I briefly forgot that it was not my place to question the Queen's wisdom. And that it is more my job to make sure that the Queen's decisions are wise.
It's refreshing to hear you take her words to heart. Was this the first time the Queen has had to remind you of such a thing?
Of this specifically?
Hmm.
Probably. But it is not the first time that I have misjudged my standing.
I sympathize. Why do you think the Queen has been so slow to grant you more standing within her court?
I think it's because more standing could take me away from the responsibilities that she needs me for specifically.
As a player, I just came up with the most devastating retort, and I'm like, no, it crosses a line.
Oh no, not again.
Oh no, not the freezing.
Oh no! Ulfric
Okay.
froze.
No, this internet.
Oh,
Okay,
you're
Yay!
back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, maybe we should have discussed lines beforehand.
Oh.
You know, that way, if everybody was cool with it, you know, things could be expanded upon, or certain things could be not touched upon.
Mhm.
I'm intensely curious.
I am so curious.
What the response was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was actually super mild, but that's part of what I loved about it. It's like, that must be such a comforting thought to go to sleep to with at night.
Ooh.
And it fits so well with your character.
Oh, she's such a horrible bitch.
Okay, I'm glad you said it.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Her word daggers are sharp, and I love it.
All right, Christine.
Ooh,
Ooh.
that's a good question. The queen thinks more highly of you than you do of yourself. How do you know this? Well, all I know I'm good at is baking, and not many people want just that around, so she likes asking for intricate and specific things, new things to try with her tea. And when they go right, she doesn't have to say any words, but it's the smile. When it is delicious and perfect, the smile that she makes, it shows me that I am doing good enough even with just these skills.
Hmm.
Is that really what she values you for? Baking? Making tea?
This is what it seems to me. That's what I'm asked to do the most.
The most. Huh? What else has the queen asked of you?
To pull the response to a question similar from the last time to make a light lunch. But to be serious, sometimes to just man the kitchen itself. When it comes to food to the queen, the biggest concern is anyone slipping something in her food, in her drink. And you have to have the right skills, the nose for it, to make sure nothing that she eats will enter.
Is this where your concern with poisons comes from?
Yes. There are some nasty ones out there, and if I can keep them from impacting her, then I'm good. And I'm happy.
In your line of duty, have you ever been poisoned?
That week I was sick, someone tried something in, and I had taste tested food first. And that's why I was out for a week. So sometimes it's a learning process.
Were you able to figure out who did slip in the poison?
I know that was one of the queen's top priorities when she learned A, that I was sick, and B, the reason why. I don't know what she did further past with that information, but I've kept a close eye on things that happen when it comes to food and drink.
Okay. Did you suspect anyone in the retinue of doing it?
No. I don't interact with too many people outside of the kitchen. So it's really hard to judge character when you interact with people in passing.
That's fair. That's fair. Is there any other questions? Alright, Persephone.
Alrighty. Let's see. Oh, what makes the queen beautiful in your eyes? Getting all the gay questions. Well, there are certain physical features, of course, but just the way she speaks and carries herself, and just her presence. It's so overwhelming and majestic. I think she is definitely the most beautiful woman I've ever known.
Have you ever told the queen of this?
Yes.
How did she react?
Well, you know how she is. She doesn't tend to react that much, but she said she was grateful and that she appreciated the compliment.
Okay. Bryn.
You suspect this journey isn't just about diplomatic negotiations. What else do you believe is going on and why? I believe the Queen may have reason to suspect the loyalties of some close to her.
Do you believe that the queen is using this as a way to draw those people out?
I believe the Queen sees more than one purpose to this particular journey, that other objectives may be accomplished alongside.
Do you know who she suspects?
I wouldn't presume to know the Queen's mind, of course, but I have my own suspicions.
Who do you suspect then?
Surely I wouldn't say so boldly, so as not to arouse suspicion.
arouse suspicion?
I wouldn't want to unjustly spook anyone.
Spook. So there might be some credence to these rumors.
As I said, I have my suspicions.
Hmm.
Alright, doesn't seem like there's any other questions, so Frick.
Ooh. You are
Oh.
considered beautiful by almost everyone you meet. How does the queen make you question that perception? Oof. Sorry?
Oof.
Um well, I'm old enough that folks could have taken an interest, and with the queen's blessing, perhaps something might be done about those interested parties, but the queen has not seen fit to grant her blessing. And I do wonder why. I know that she's told me many times that looks are one thing and that she treasures certain abilities that I have, but that there is maybe something that could be grown further.
Do you think that she wants you for herself?
I wouldn't dream that.
Of course you wouldn't.
Do you suspect that there's someone else she wants to place you with? Wrong choice of words, but you get the drift.
Yeah, I think that's part of why I'm on this journey. You know the thing about how ugly brides surround themselves with ugly bridesmaids, and beautiful brides pick lovely women? I think she's there both to improve her own beauty in the eyes of those she meets, but that I might be, if I strike the right person's attention, a worthy pawn to be passed along in these negotiations.
So you think of yourself as a pawn?
I think of myself in service to the queen. I know there's a reason why she's reserved her permission for me to wed, and I trust there are reasons, even if I don't understand them.
You say you trust that there are reasons, but do you agree with the decision?
I think sometimes it can be hard to know one's own heart, and one must trust others to keep it safe.
Fair. Alright, well, I think it's time The queen is under attack. Do you defend her? I do defend the queen. My loyalty and blade are steady in this matter. Whether I have the correct information to defend the queen properly, I guess we'll find out. Christine.
I do defend the queen with the odd skills that I have. They're hers to put to use.
I also defend the queen. Her magic, or my magic, is hers to command. Got things switched around there for a second. Whoopsie. The intent is there, though. The intent is what matters.
Brayton.
I do not defend the queen.
What?
I wait for an opportunity and slip away.
You don't attack the queen yourself, you just leave?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Ulfric.
I will say that I stand by the queen, but when I call upon my brother to take that action, he does not respond.
Oh, and I gotta kill my apprentice. Oh, and your brother. Oh, just. Yup. Yeah, I fucking do it. No hesitation, but just a single tear.
An interesting end. But it would seem that though we have betrayals, the queen has enough defenders to survive the events. I don't know if others do. That's up to us, but for now, we gotta wrap up and sign out. So, starting with Christine, who are you and where can we find you on the internet?
Hi, y'all. I am Christine, also known as Crafty Psych on the Twitterverse. You can find me over at Welcome to the Party, where I am a moderator, and will also on December 16th be running my first one-shot. So come say hi. We're a welcoming crowd.
Yes, Persephone.
Hey, I'm Persephone. You can find me at Persephone Hime on Twitter. And also in the Welcome to the Party Discord. Not running anything currently, but I was a part of Unknown Girl Society, which you can find the replays of on the Welcome to the Party YouTube channel, and maybe involved in some upcoming things. Who knows?
Bryn.
Hi, I'm Bryn. You can find me pretty much everywhere on the internet under Brynanza. I draw things and write things sometimes.
Okay. Ulfric.
Hello, I am Ulfrig. It is hard to find me on the internet because I rolled a very high stealth check. So, what I like to do is throw some light on people who deserve more attention than they often get. And today's choice is the Asians Represent podcast as part of the One Shot Podcast Network. They do actual play, they do con discussions, they do discussions of how Asians are represented in various forms of delightfully nerdy media. You should check them out because they are super thoughtful, super fun, and when they do their actual play stuff, it is absolutely enchanting and wonderful. So, Asians Represent podcast. That's my shout out today.
Okay. Yes, hi. This is going to be a little bit of a long spiel, but I am Nerdy Teddy. You can find me on Twitter at Nerdy Teddy. A good place to keep up with things and what's going on. Let's say big thing is Thursdays. I am currently running Millennium Nights over on Welcome to the Party. That's at 8 p.m. EST. It's a Power Rangers inspired, Powered by the Apocalypse game. Sundays here, Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. EST. I am currently running a Capers Noir game called 15 Days in Pasadena. There are only a couple episodes left. Other than that, right now, there is going to be, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, while we're waiting on some tech issues, I will be doing tomorrow specifically and Friday and possibly over the weekend a little bit if I have the time. We'll be doing some world building streams for Fated Milwaukee 95 leading up to the first one-on-one session with me and Capjack, where we will meet Killian, their character, and we will be running through how Killian came across birthrights and the knowledge of their parentage. It'll be a fun little adventure. Next week, there will not be a one-shot, and the week after that, even though I had originally scheduled it, I will be going to PAX Unplugged, and yeah, woo! So next week, there's not gonna be a lot of stuff. If I make the time, there will probably be maybe a world building stream, but that will also mean there's no 15 Days in Pasadena and no Millennium Nights. And I'll return to the streaming world the Thursday after for Millennium Nights. We are going to go raid Legends of Evantris. They're discussing some, I forgot a part of that. They're doing some world building of their own. It looks like discussing some stuff. So I'm going to go say hi to them, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Takes forever to take down.